Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. We are about 30 seconds away from Inter Miami's 1-1 draw against DC United, a road point for the Herons. This is the raw reaction, where we have an emotional reaction to what we just saw. And mostly we interact with you guys and get your thoughts from the chat. I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur. How are you feeling?
Who said it's not a trap? It's always a trap.
No, it's always a trap. Yeah. I felt there was probably 4 penalties in there for Inter Miami throughout the game.
They're like half and half. I don't think any of them.
Yeah,
were
but there was
clear
like 4 of them. Never were going to get it because we're Inter Miami and this is the MLS. I think we would have gotten one if it was the Leagues Cup. That said, I thought this game went almost exactly like I thought it would. If I'm being honest with you, we tried a new formation and a whole bunch of new players, and that's a lot of new to be able to click all in sort of one moment. I thought there was some understandably meh performances. I thought there was a couple really poor performances that we will talk about. And then obviously as soon as the subs came on, like it went from being kind of an even game to Inter Miami completely dominating, but you can only get so far in 30 minutes. Inter Miami only able to get 1 goal, and ultimately that was not enough in this game. So where do you want to start?
No, I think we called it out. I said it in the pregame show that this is going to be a very poor quality game as long as the starting 11 is on the pitch, and it showed. I thought DC United came out a lot more with their quality on the ball than I thought they would. But Inter Miami just struggled to contain the ball. There were gaps all across the pitch. The back three obviously trying to play out from the back. There was nobody to control the tempo in the midfield. Once you lose Rodrigo de Paul, once you lose Sergio Busquets, who is so good on the ball, and put in 3 players who are basically energetic bunnies, but not necessarily the best at maintaining possession, that's bound to happen. And then Fafa Pico and Tadeo Allende basically playing in their own little universe, not connecting at all, which constantly meant that we lost the ball in dangerous areas. And DC United capitalized for whatever they were worth. I didn't think they had too many chances, but they were on top in the first half, at least in terms of dominating the game, dominating the possession, playing better with the ball at their feet. And then it was a completely different game in the second half once the subs came on. And I think credit to you for saying that this is going to be a game of 2 halves, which it was. I think we left a little bit too much time on our hands to do something with it. Should have got a goal, should have got another goal, and maybe should have won the game. But it's understandable why things went wrong. So I'm not that annoyed by it, but it's never nice dropping points against bottom of the league team. Baltazar Rodriguez, absolute rocket. Do that more, and we'll all be fans. But great hit, probably goal of the season. Fantastic.
Yeah, I actually thought Inter Miami played pretty evenly with DC United in that first half. They just had nothing in the opposition half. But in terms of the defense, the midfield, they had 66% possession in that first half. It's just the midfield had nothing to do going forward because, as you mentioned, Tadeo Allende and Fafa Pico were playing in a different stadium for that first half.
I would disagree with
Okay.
that statement because even though we did have the ball, we didn't do anything with it.
Well,
And
and so what I
I
was going to
thought
say
DC
is
was more dangerous.
I think they maybe had three or four real chances, and
Yeah,
that's
but they
not
were
nothing.
playing
I'm
more
not
in our half. But yeah.
maybe saying it was even is a little disingenuous. It was probably like DC was certainly the better team, but I don't think it was sort of anything close to how much better Inter Miami was than them in the second half, at least once the subs came on. Benjamin Kramaski had a really bad night, and we
Very
have
bad.
seen this a lot over the last couple months where Allende on the right and Cello on the right just make that right side of the pitch like
So
nothing.
much
You just get
worse.
nothing from it. And it was that again today. It's just you subbed in Kramaski for Tadeo Allende, who was obviously playing up top. I thought the 2 forward system with those 2 forwards in particular was just a disaster. And then I thought David Ruiz kind of grew into the game. I thought he was having trouble for the first 15 minutes finding the ball, but I thought he got a little bit better after that. Ryan Saylor, same thing. I thought the first 10 or 15 minutes he wasn't up to the physicality of the game, and then I thought he played pretty well from that point on. And I think it's understandable that those two players would take a little bit of time to get into it.
And I can forgive them for that, actually.
Yeah, exact same. Toto Aviles, I thought this wasn't a great game from him. Gonzalo Lujan, I thought it was more of the same from him. And so it's just kind of a lack of quality
And that's one of
across
my
the
biggest
pitch.
talking points, right? Like you can forgive some of these players who just starting their first games of the season, haven't got that many minutes. But when it comes to players like Chelo Wekan, Gonzalo Lujan, Benjamin Kramaski, Toto Aviles, I thought Segovia was poor as well, but that was more so because he didn't have anybody to play around the ball with. And we know his game is passing the ball around with somebody to connect with. Nobody had the composure on the ball. So all of these players who are more experienced have been getting minutes on a more regular basis. Didn't show up. They had very average performances. Allende was again very poor.
And,
For me, the worst
and the
player on the
thing
pitch was Chelo Wekan.
the thing that happens is once you get to a certain number of players on the pitch that just aren't in good form or not having
Yeah.
their night, it becomes impossible for anyone else. So I think
Exactly.
Segovia maybe was a victim of that. Um, and I would have liked to see him stay on with the other guys into that second half. I thought he was a key piece, although Baltasar came on and replaced him. So sticking with just the first half for a second, Rocco had a really nice save. I thought he looked maybe best player in that first half for Inter Miami. No Allen, I thought was like solid throughout the game. And then a lot of the
Almost had a
positives
goal.
came in that second half. He did almost have a goal. Would have been a second in DC at Audi Field. Second half, I actually thought even before the subs came on, they started to look better. They were in more control.
Yeah.
They weren't giving up the kind of chances they were early in the first half. And then once the subs came on, it was night and day. We will get to Baltasar, and I'm sure the chat will bring us there in a minute. I will say, I thought Busquets was the reason, and I'm not actually that confident DePaul is going to look back on his time in this game and feel particularly good about it. And then Suarez didn't have any magic moments, but I don't know. Okay, ready to get to the chat?
Let's do it.
Ikem says, how was that not a penalty? I'm telling you, man, I thought there was 4 that could have been a penalty in this game.
If he's referring to the last one, it would have been really harsh because Suarez heads the ball into the player's hand, and that's like he barely has any reason, any time to react. So I can understand why it wasn't a penalty, but yeah.
Well, is that not how is that different than what Jordi Alba kicked into the hand of the Tigres player in the midweek,
Because his
or
his
the
hand
second
was
one for
not
Rodrigo
like
DePaul?
super unnatural, and also
it
this is the
was-
MLS, so
It's that's the difference. Is that these are the MLS, and clearly Inter Miami is going to go a whole season without getting a penalty.
we haven't
awarded to them.
obviously played our refereeing salary yet. We need to get that bank wired across as
I
soon as
know
possible.
we need more Argentines in the refereeing corps. That'll really get it done. Sean says this game really needed Yannick Bright. I thought the defense held up well for much of the game. Even their goal was kind of like fluky. It wasn't like built up play. It was kind of a quick transition, and he just kind of pops it up. It's a nice touch by Jackson. Completely forgot his name. Jackson Hopkins. Really nice touch by him and a nice finish. Nothing Rocco could have done on that one. So I think Inter Miami tried to control the game, and they gave up a few opportunities in transition, and that's what happens when you try and control the game, and you just want to have your best personnel out there to handle it. And ultimately, we gave up one goal on a pretty nice play by Jackson Hopkins.
I don't think Bright was the player for this game, at least not in the first half, because
Well, he certainly would be better, but
yeah, Inter Miami needed somebody to control the tempo, hold possession. I said this time and time again when the lineup came out, it's going to look bad in possession because none of these players are capable of holding the ball the same way that us as fans are used to seeing with Sergio Busquets, with Rodrigo de Paul, with Messi. So it was bound to look bad. I agree with you. I think the defensive shape held up, but it felt like we were constantly putting us under pressure, ourselves under pressure, because we gave the ball away immediately as soon as we got it back. So it felt like the defense was constantly being put under pressure. But even despite that, they held up really well. So I guess good for them for whatever that's worth against the worst side in the MLS.
Tarn says, I don't want to see Kremasky on the pitch again. Okay, let's.
He was bad. Yeah.
This was his worst game of the year, for sure.
Yeah. Didn't particularly enjoy it.
You didn't enjoy him not
I
playing
didn't
well?
enjoy it.
I don't know what to say. It was almost like it was just a total lack of confidence. And
I think it was disconnection across the pitch, right? Like it just felt like everyone was playing in their own zones.
You
But
can't.
he was
You
particularly
can't.
bad. Yeah.
No, you can't. Like I think Ruiz and Ryan Saylor were like pretty iffy in that first 10, 15 minutes, and they grew into the and like I thought like there's a lot of things you could blame on the situation. I don't want to give Kremasky that out because, and he'll know it. That was not a good performance. Tunde says that first half was something to behold, and then Nick Smith says that's why we don't rotate. I do just want to say, I thought if we had a real offense, that first half may have looked significantly differently. Again, Tadeo Allende and Fafa Biko do not have complementary skill sets. There is no world where those two should be playing together as a strike partnership. If anything, put one of them at that right midfield spot. Play a Segovia up there, play anybody else up there. But those two together as a strike partnership doesn't make sense. Now, I understand doing it because you don't want to play Suarez 90 minutes and you have no one else. So my only real complaint about that is to say, well, you should have kept Robert Taylor. You should have kept Julian Gressel. But they made the decision over the course of the season they didn't want to do that, and that gives you into this situation tonight.
Also, the fact that these players don't play often enough actually lends itself to a really vicious cycle of when you ask them to play, they're not ready.
Yeah.
And then you drop points, and then you think they're not ready to play, so you just don't play them. It's a really vicious cycle, and that's what you get for not playing them often enough.
And we've talked about this over and over again over the course of the season. Is we want them to play more minutes so that they're in shape when you need them to play more minutes, and that they can look good when they play minutes. And the decisions leading up to today are the reason why I thought this game went the way it went. Also, they played a different formation. They switched formations 3 times in that first half. I don't know if you noticed this, but they started with the back 3. They went to a back 4 at one point, and they went back to a back 3. Then they went back to a back 4, but a different back 4 where it was Aviles in the midfield the second time. First time he was center back, and Lujan went out to right back, and Chelo went out. So it was just a mess. And for a lot of the performances, I think maybe it's hard to blame. Sean says it wasn't that bad. These players never play, and I think that's sort of the point.
I can forgive this performance. Yeah, I'm not super mad.
And if we had found a way to get a goal here, we had one hit off the post, kind of deflected off Ian Frey, we'd be perfectly happy with, how this game went, I think. Pythia says, I called it Golazzo by Baltasar. Okay, let's just talk about the shot first. Beautiful. I don't know.
Probably goal of the season. Like
for Baltasar, yeah.
No. For
definitely not goal of the season. Definitely not goal of the season.
No, the Palmeiras goal was not as good, man. You got to get over it. No, I think it was fantastic. What a beautifully hit.
I don't know if that would be top 5 goals this season, but it was a beautiful goal. It was a fantastic goal, and Baltasar deserves a lot of credit for that. He looked pacey today, and we had heard he had a hip injury. He was very confident, very pacey, quick. He had some defensive moments that I was a little, I don't know. But he also had a really nice, collect and carry moment in the middle of the pitch that looked really good. And then obviously he had a couple shots where you could see the confidence. Did he feel like he was running out of steam in the last 15 minutes, maybe a little bit?
That's granted,
because
man.
he seemed everywhere.
Played any minutes.
I'm not blaming him. In fact, that's what I wanted to say was, if it did feel like that, I think that's reasonable because he hasn't played a ton. And he was just everywhere for the first 10 minutes he came onto the pitch.
Absolutely. And he was playing as the number 10 as well. So good for him for taking that responsibility and rising up to the occasion.
Tunde says, I saw your post about Suarez's 28 goal contributions. He had another Suarez assist today. That's like 8
Now
or
that's
9
going to
this
go to
season.
RDP. That has to go to Rodrigo de Paul. Suarez just bumped the player away. He didn't have a touch on the ball.
Yeah, I don't remember anything but Baldassar's shot on that play.
No, fair enough.
And that's just some unnecessary shot at Suarez, if I'm being honest. Allende, man of the match. I'm assuming is sarcastic, says honest. What do you think of Allende? Specifically Allende.
Very poor again. A non-factor. I barely remember a moment where he touched the ball, honestly. Like Fafa got involved once he went out.
I thought he was better than Fafa, but not in a dramatic way.
I thought
Both of
Fafa
them
was a
looked
lot
terrible.
better once he got involved. Like once the formation changed in the 55th minute.
Fair. But
that,
Allende came off at that point, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't even remember Allende's performance, which honestly is a good thing.
Tony says Cello and Noah could not have been worse. I thought Noah was like solid. We have to understand he's not going to provide the offensive outlet that Jordi Alba does. So to hold him to that standard is unfair. But
Cello was terrible.
I thought Cello was pretty bad. Yeah,
I think he was the worst player on that pitch. Every time the ball went to him, the offense just died. And then you saw Ian Frey on that other side, even though he was playing centre back, he took the ball on the right back side and just took a player on and earned a foul. And I was like, why doesn't Cello do any of that? Like, he's awful.
He doesn't have that in him. And that's okay, but let's not pretend that he should be the starter over Ian Frey. One thing I did want to say is when Ian Frey came onto the field, I was convinced we were going to win. And then I saw him come in for Ryan Saylor instead of Cello. And I thought, oh, there it goes. Just a waste of that X factor Ian Frey, who, by the way, still got himself involved offensively because you wanted to play him at center back. Anonymous says Luis Suarez hates Fafa Pico.
Yeah, it's very clear at this point.
No, there was one ball Suarez put forward that Fafa like stopped on, and that one was.
But he couldn't have got there. That was not on Fafa. There was no way Fafa was getting to that ball. It was straight to the goalkeeper.
I think we're thinking of something different then.
Oh,
Tarn says, now I understand why my Masha doesn't rotate much. Today says, how much of that was a lack of chemistry and organization versus poor player quality?
I think more, I would say 70-30. 70 more lack of chemistry and organization with players being put in positions they're not comfortable in. And then 30 poor player quality as well, because there are just some basics that you can do that you should be competing against this DC team with. For instance, Kramaski should have held the ball better. Cello Egan should have done a lot better progressing the ball from the back. So a few quality issues, but I think largely it was the personnel, because you're playing personnel that's not suited to the style. And we've barely played a 3-man back line from time to time. So I can understand that, and I can blame it more on the organization than the quality of players.
Yeah, me too. I'm 100%. And I think you saw once you started to bring in some of the standard fits of the midfield of the lineup, like everything just started forming better.
Like Aviles was so much more comfortable as the centre back, and like everyone was doing their job a lot better once we were back to a 4-4-2.
I will say the second half was much more back and forth and very open. And we did talk about how that's maybe how the starting lineup should want to play, because they're a much more athletic team than what we normally put out there. So for some of those guys to not get an opportunity once the game opened up is maybe something to keep in mind when you judge their performances. Ash says Baltasar Rodriguez playing 10 minutes until this game, and yet he seems to know where to be and when to be. But I think that's exactly what I was getting to, is by the time he had come into the game, it was a much more open game, his style of play, and so he was able to find those spaces in a way that Segovia just didn't have available to him earlier on in the game.
Yeah.
Did your opinion of Baltasar change dramatically tonight?
No, I did think he looked a lot more sharp than I have seen him in the last few games. And I think the more minutes he gets, the more I can see what he brings to this team. And I liked his goal, man. So I would say, yeah, I feel positive about him. He took initiative today, and I like that. I haven't seen that level of initiative from him, getting on the ball, demanding the ball, trying to make things happen, and I like that from him. That's good for me.
I thought he had a great shot. I thought he had a great shot.
No, I
Libby
I
says,
disagree. It wasn't just the shot. I think he was a lot more involved. He didn't look like a random ghost
for
running
sure.
around. Um,
Well,
it'll
for sure.
click hopefully, but we'll see.
Libby says the subs were too late. We had talked about this in the pregame show. There was clearly going to be planned subs. That's how Javier Mascherano does it. Just considering how dominant we were in the second half once those guys came on, you just wanted them to have 3 extra minutes, 4 extra minutes of game time. It is hard to maybe predict that, but I don't know. What did you think? Did you want the sub sooner? Did you want the Ian Frey sub sooner? Did you want the
I mean, I wanted the Ian Frey sub to be instead of Chelo Wigan and not in centre back.
same,
I
same?
I think it was fine. 55 is fine. You want to give some of these players, and credit to them, they came out with a much better energy in the second half than they did in the first half, and it felt like we were on top in that second half when the game started. And obviously, once the subs come in, it gets a lot better. But I was okay with the timing of the main subs.
ST says Orlando's getting run over by Nashville 4-0. I saw a couple score lines were going our way. I'll check on those in a minute. But
So Cincy lost, Philadelphia won. Orlando's losing quite poorly. So
Columbus lost too, I believe. Although their striker, Wesam Abu Ali, did make his debut and did get a goal.
yeah,
Philadelphia won, and Orlando City's going to lose 4-0. So
guess who scored against Columbus?
obviously, again,
Our boy,
Leo
Leo
Campana. I know. I saw that. Ali says, robbed again. Honest says, I think we need Suarez. Suarez should be retired. Did you want the Suarez sub earlier? He came on about 5 or 6 minutes after the rest of them.
Yeah, I think it would have been good if he got in earlier. Would give a little bit more sharpness to the front line.
It's just that the Allende Fafa thing was just so dysfunctional. But
And
anyways,
he
Tunde
should have
says
expected that.
he should have expected that, yeah.
Javier
Tunde says, I
Mascherano.
can't understand what Javier Mascherano was trying to achieve shape-wise in that first half. We
Yeah.
changed shapes every 5 minutes. Yeah, I don't. That's not a
And
good
they
way
were
to.
so spread out in the back three, like even vertically and horizontally. There was just so much gap. DC was able to do a lot with that, and then we just kept moving players in and around. It just felt so dysfunctional.
Miami King says, where is the so-called roster depth? It's never that deep. I will tell you, it's in Minnesota with Julian Gressel. It's in Austin with Robert Taylor. It's in Spain with Federico Redondo. It's in Atlanta with Leo Alfonso. It's in Paraguay with David Martinez. The depth is gone in sort of that elite way
Portland
that
with
Inter Miami had.
Matas Rojas, who's probably going to
Yeah.
start.
The depth basically disappeared over the last 6 months because.
And
Inter
by the
Miami
way, guess who scored against
sold
this
players and didn't
DC
replace
side 3 weeks ago? Robert Taylor. So
there you go. No, and like I said, I thought this team would look much better if they had a different offense.
yeah.
Like in front of them, it's just Allende and Fafa were just.
And there was no
again,
reason
playing a
to
different
play a
game.
3-man backline, by the way. Now that I think about it, why did he play a 3-man backline? Just rest Lujan, play Aviles and Sailor, have Weigand and Allen as your two fullbacks,
But
and
they don't
then
have anyone
you're
else to play.
sorted.
No, but they don't
What?
have anyone to play high up the field.
No, we've
Who would
got
you put?
Promas- What do you mean?
Who? Okay, you take out a center back. What are you putting onto the field?
So okay, let's experiment this, right? You got my back four. You play Benjamin Kramaski, David Ruiz, and Telasco Segovia as your midfield three, and then you've got Fafa Pico, Allende as your wide forwards, and then put in Yannick
think
Bright in
that's-
the middle, push Segovia up top. There you go.
I think that's the
fine.
thing is that I think that's the thing is he wanted to get Yannick Bright a rest or he wanted to get Suarez. So the guys he was willing to start just sort of formed better into the formation we saw. I agree with you. I think if you were like willing to use everyone, that's not at all what you would do. But Like, I think he picked, like, these
I
are the
felt
10
like
guys I
Yannick
want to
Bright could
start,
have
and he kind of
gone,
made
but
it
yeah.
figure it out. I hear you, but I think
Hmm.
that was the decision making. And again, like, if we watch that game back, I think we'll look and we'll see, even with what we started with, and Miami could have gotten 3 points out of this game if one or two things goes their way. And I think that's maybe what Javier Mascherano was hoping
Like,
for.
I'm
Because
not
we saw in the second
mad at
half,
dropping 2 points.
like we saw in the second half, Inter Miami was going to be able to do that as soon as those guys came on. And so it's just, is that going to get you 1 goal, or is it going to get you 2 goals, or is it going to get you 4 goals, right? But he knew when he brought the subs on, he was going to be able to control the game in a pretty dominant way. Jay says, although we came out with the 1 point, this hurts. Was the perfect chance to gain ground. Fortunate that 3 teams ahead of Miami lost. Was there anyone else, like any other performance? I know we talked about Cello. Ian Frey, I thought, still found a way to make some moments happen late. I thought Rodrigo de Paul, I want to rewatch it, but I thought he was not as impactful as he would have liked to be. Are we asking too much of Rodrigo de Paul?
I think so. I think your understanding, I don't know what, and that was going to be my question. What is your understanding of impact for Rodrigo de Paul?
Like,
Goals and assists?
his first 2 games, he was providing that. And I'm not saying that it's right to make that his new standard, but I guess I'm asking, like, are we figuring out exactly what he is as a player? Because if you put Busquets into the midfield, you don't expect him to get you goals and assists, and he will give you some assists over the course of the season, but that's not what you're putting him in there. But I feel like we've seen DePaul so much without Messi that we kind of expect him to fill that role, but he's not actually providing that.
I don't think
But
he's that kind of a
he has
player
at
who's
some
going to
points.
score. I don't think he's going to score every single game and assist every single game. I think that's slightly unfair to think of him. He makes the midfield flow, and he's not a number 10 by trade. So he needs that number 10 to be more creative than he is. He will
But is
keep
he
things ticking. He will keep retrieve balls when needed. He will do the dirty work. He's not the
okay?
uh,
I understand.
yeah.
I understand. But to bring it back to the other point, he's so good that he can do the number 10 role, at least sometimes. At least sometimes. And so I just need to keep that in perspective. And I need you to remind me that I need to
So
keep that in
I'm going to give you statistics from Atletico Madrid, and I understand that they're not going to translate directly, but he only had 3 goals and 5 assists last season for Atletico. So like he's not a goal scoring and assisting machine. He's not like an Alba, Suarez, and Messi. He's more the making the midfield work. But I can understand why you would think he should contribute more. But yeah,
Well, but if you remember the first couple games he was on the team, he was creating offense.
I think those
And
were
we had
his
heard
like
from people that
that was
so
his quota.
that's my
done.
point. Was that
Yeah,
exactly? Did we already hit his
done.
quota? And okay, he's a
Yeah.
good player, but we need to get Messi back ASAP for him
Yeah.
to be, a superstar. Nick Smith says, at least with Cello playing a full game, we know for sure Frey starts on Wednesday. That is the other thing we haven't talked about yet. This game did set the
won't be
team
so
up
sure.
for Wednesday night. I'm 1,000% convinced Ian Frey is going to start on Wednesday. We're going to get Yannick Bright for 90 minutes. Suarez, Busquets, Roger GP are all going to be sort of fit and not tired. So I think the team did set themselves up well. Maybe that probably means Kramaski won't start, but I think that's maybe not a surprise when you think about it. And even Allende got time off. So I think this choreographed what we're going to get Wednesday night in a pretty simple to piece together way.
I hope so. Yeah.
Jerry says officiating was horrible. Weigant, for every game he has good, he has 2 bad, and again Lujan bad. Team misses for sure. Guys like Taylor, other than Baltasar, nobody else has a foot to strike. Backline. Am I wrong for thinking that Ryan Saylor, after the first 10 minutes, played the best of the 3?
I'll have to rewatch it. I honestly didn't think Lujan had a particularly poor game, even though he did get burnt a couple of times by I don't want to get the name wrong. Kimji?
Kojima.
Yeah.
By the way,
Kojima. There
I
you go.
forgot about him. We did not talk about it in the pregame show, but last year for St. Louis, he had an incredible game off the bench against us. And to see him back at DC United, I was surprised, and I noticed him when we were on the field. And I was like, where did I have seen this guy from? But it was that St. Louis game last year that we drew 3-3, and I think he's a really nice player. And like he's the kind of player that I think makes a team like DC better. I don't know, dude. Lujan got beat a couple times in transition,
now that
especially
I
early.
think about it, yeah.
Pythia says, sorry, Allen was poor. What did you think about Allen? Because I've said it a couple times, but I don't want to sort of.
Again, I need to rewatch the backline performance to understand how they played. I didn't think he was particularly great, but I think he did the job that he was asked to do. So it's difficult for him to be as productive as Jordi Alba, but I'll have to rewatch to understand if it was poor or if it was average.
Tunde says, I think because we got 2 pens last game, they probably didn't want to look partial. 0 penalties in the MLS this season. 0. Only team in the MLS. And by the way, we've been the only team in the MLS for like 8 games now.
Listen, we're reserving it all for the playoffs. We're going to get them all for the playoffs.
Yeah, or on Wednesday night. Anonymous says Tata Martino had the team more together. Ooh. And I do think Tata Martino did a good job of making sure guys got enough minutes to stay in form. Like I think that is something we did not give Tata enough credit for last season. And I think maybe we've blamed Mascherano for not doing it and not given Tata Martino enough credit for it on the flip side. You know what I mean? Jeff says, can Miami still win the Supporter Shield? There are too many other goals in tournaments this year. Miami can still win the Supporter Shield.
They should win the Supporter Shield.
I don't know about should. Dude, the other teams of these got better over the last week.
Yeah.
Columbus just got their star striker. And then Cincinnati got Brenner, who's been a stud in this league before. And that's just another weapon for them.
And yet they still lost today. That's the magic of the MLS.
Well, Columbus came off in the second half. I'm sorry. Wesam Abu Ali came on in the second half and scored a goal. The Devinit says, this might sound dumb, but tonight I really realized how crucial Busquets is to the squad. There's a reason why he's played more games than everyone else in terms of Messi, Alba, Suarez. Like, he's the guy that plays more than any of them because he is actually – he changes how easy it is to play the game. He really does.
He's just so... He doesn't even use his body. He just uses his mind. It's like a cerebral brain floating around in the pitch. That's what it is.
I think he's more athletic than we give him credit for. Like, he's not fast, obviously. Yeah. But the speed with which he has, like, his footwork is really quick. And he's very hard to see the ball off of.
Like, he can do the athletic work, like, sort of, when he needs to. But he just doesn't need to. He's just so smart at where he needs to be and what he needs to do. Like, he's just so good, man. And I kept saying this even when we do the draft. He's number 2 in this team, behind Messi, at least this season. And I know you're going to pick Suarez again when we do the draft, but for me, Busquets is always going to be number 2 behind Messi, ahead of Suarez and Alba.
Well, you're going to get to pick second next time, so you can pick Busquets if you want to.
Let's go.
Unless RDP convinces you. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Smith says Sailor played himself out of a third-string job, gave them a free corner, which led to the goal. Absolutely no reason to play that ball. That is true. He did have a bad moment where he kind of heads the ball out of bounds. I'm not sure if that was the goal, but maybe it was. But like I said, I thought he played much better after the first 10, 15 minutes. And that's like the type of thing where if you haven't played more than 7 minutes in any game all season, you're going to look rusty. I thought there was a couple headers in the first 7 minutes or so that really showed this, where he kind of got bodied off the ball. And it was like, oh, you have to bring like a physicality and intensity that you're not used to. But by the 15th minute, I thought he had settled in and was bringing that sort of physicality and was much better on those. So, yeah. Jeff says your lineup prediction was pretty dang close.
That was all a fluke. I didn't think this was what it was going to be, but oh well.
Upcoat says Fafa has 5 times the ball control that Allende has. Jerry says Baltasar 100% has a foot for
5 times. Yeah, that's true. Honestly, I think Baltasar could replace Allende. I have a feeling he will.
No, I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to see that. I'll be honest. I think when Allende's in form, he is the best player for that spot in the lineup. But he's been in such bad form for so long now, and they just keep running him out there that, like, if you want him to be at his best come playoff time, give him some games off now. Either make him earn it back or like give him a chance to build his confidence in training or off the bench or whatever. But right now you're not getting anything positive from him, and it's a real disaster. I think because again you're not getting him close to being better for the playoffs, which is what I think is all matter. What is all that matters. Jerry says when we take a look at what the front office has done this year, it's disgusting. Letting go of Gressel, Taylor, never playing Baltasar, never playing Obando, Lujan, Allende. It's horrendous, bad, bad. And of course, Drake is gone. I feel like we've covered that pretty extensively over the course of the last 6 months, even while it's been
No, but I will say the roster last season was much better than it is right now.
And deeper.
And well utilized.
Miss Reed says, you kind of hate Cello no matter what, and I'm here for it, Saur.
No, I claimed very early on that Cello is the best right back the league has ever seen. And I stick by my statement, okay?
Juana says, if Real Madrid played this game, they would get 5 penalties. I'm telling you, man, I think Inter Miami should have gotten a penalty or 2 in this game. I really do. And maybe that's just because my balance is off because I've been watching European soccer this weekend and because Inter Miami got a couple penalties on Wednesday and my MLS brain is starting to get defunctional. But I thought there was a couple penalties or potential penalties in there for Inter Miami, and they didn't even really look at any of them. So maybe I am the crazy one. Ash says Mascherano should be good at developing young players due to his prior experience, but it's not happening. Clearly, that's not happening. Yeah, no, he's not good at that.
In fact, there's a case to be made that he makes players worse than they actually are.
I think
there's a thesis there that somebody can actually write, and I think you could make a good argument for it.
YS says, can't blame Mascherano for not rotating from now on. The B team sucks. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I said it. It's a vicious cycle. You don't play your players and they're not informed. They don't have game rhythm. Then when you ask them to play, they're not ready to play. So that's why they put in a bad performance. And then we think that they shouldn't be starting. So then we go back to relying on all our main players and just run them into the ground. And then we need the squad in certain positions, but they're not ready to play. So it's just a vicious cycle. It's going to keep going like that. You have to integrate them in a mixed way. You can't just take off all your starting 11 and put in all your backups in one game, play them in different formations, and allow them to and play them in different positions as well, because that's just going to mess everything up. So you could rest like 3 or 4 players and bring in the B players in those positions, but you can't just drastically change everything and then expect the B team to perform just as good.
Raymond says, as a Venezuelan, I'm biased towards Telasco, but Baltasar looked great. Do you think there's any chance Telasco might lose his spot?
I don't think so. I think Telasco Segovia is a much better player than Baltasar Rodriguez.
I'm just going to say this. People are going to overrate Baltasar because of this appearance. Yeah. I think if you watch it closely, he has a couple bad passes. He has a couple defensive moments where he like sprints to the ball, and so he looks athletic, but then he just kicks it out of bounds unnecessarily. It was a very good Baltasar performance. It's the best we've ever seen him. He had a phenomenal goal. He is not close to taking Telasco Segovia out of the starting 11. And if he is, we will have a very serious conversation about Mascherano's priorities. Yeah. So any final thoughts? And we'll end it there. We'll end it.
No, slightly disappointed that we didn't get the win. You could clearly see the difference between the first half and the second half once our main characters came on board. You can argue that a lot of the B-string players are poor, but I think it had to do with more the formation that they were playing, the position in which they were asked to play, and the rhythm and the chemistry. And there were a lot of things wrong in terms of how Javi Mascherano put everyone together on the pitch, but it's understandable given that he wants to rest the players ahead of the Orlando game. I'm a little bit disappointed, but I'm not going to hang my head in this result. I think the next time we play DC at home, we're going to absolutely batter them. And thankfully, the rest of the results across the MLS have sort of gone in our favor, and we're still very much on course to lead the Supporter Shield race if we can win all 3 of the games in hand. So that's some
Oh, I don't think
positives to
that's
take
true
away.
anymore.
That is, Philadelphia's in 58, and we just
Yeah,
need.
but we'll be
We
behind.
still have 3.
If we win all 3 of our games in hand, we'll be 1 point ahead of them. You're right.
Exactly.
Sorry.
So Inter Miami still got the mathematical advantage in that sense, and it's okay. We should have beaten this DC team absolutely, and some poor performances all around. But we just move. This was us shedding the cobwebs and getting the rust out before that Orlando game, which I swear, if we lose to Orlando for a 3rd time, I'm not showing up to this podcast. I'll make that vow this time around instead of you. So yeah, there you go.
Be careful because we might win and you have to show up.
Yeah.
I think they set themselves up to put their best out there on Wednesday night. And
Yeah.
if that's the case and they win, this game doesn't matter. And then we can talk about winning trophies.
Yeah. No, I read a comment by Jerry that says Google Gemini says Mark Serrano is a defensive-oriented coach with potential, and he's managing the biggest club in the MLS. That's such jokes. But yeah, that's all my thoughts.
By the way, Nick is right. Actually, even if we win all our games in hand, we'd still be behind San Diego. If they win, they have 1 game in hand as well. San Diego's on 52 points, but we only are 2 games behind them. So we can only tie San Diego, and they would be ahead of us on goal differential. So we actually no longer control our destiny for the Supporter Shield. What do you know? Guys.
Listen, Matas Rose is going to score a screamer against San Diego tonight. Mark my words.
I don't know if he's going to play. He probably still is going through the paperwork. I don't know. Maybe he will. Hopefully he does, and hopefully we can watch it. And guys, I hope you have a lovely night. No after party tonight, but this was the Raw Reaction. We'll be back tomorrow with a full game breakdown, awards, a recap. We'll rewatch it. We'll have a better idea if Noah Allen was amazing or terrible, and we will talk all about it. But until then, hope you guys have a lovely night. We will see you guys next time. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this and have a wonderful day.